content warning. For those with sensitive ears, or ones looking for a more calm and cohesive episode of the podcast The Dumps, you will not find that here. Please click away and check out any other episode of the podcast of your choice. Thank you. Hi, welcome to the fucking Dumps, the place for all your sight needs. I'm Xander. I'm by myself. I have literally no one else to go about this. I'm not playing the intro like a normal thing, because I am genuinely tired. I am tired of this. I'm tired of everything that has happened, because I've had to watch God knows how many fucking Texas Chainsaw movies. I can't even count them, because Jesus Christ, I'm so done with this. I'm so done. I've had to watch these movies across days, and it felt like actually agonizing. I'm 7 days into October. Last year, that was a big month for me in terms of Letterboxd reviews, and this is when I went into my insane era where I did constant reviews, which I don't do often now. Of course, I do many reviews, but like not as often as I did back then. And it was a very fun month where I just got to watch a bunch of fun movies that I like. Then this is just the opposite of that. And I feel like it's been a decade. I've had to sit through these movies. Whether or not I've been paying attention to them or not, doesn't matter. They're all fucking boring. They are all so boring. And you know, I thought this would be an interesting episode to do, and it will be, because of how angry I am, and I've literally no one else to fuck with me. I've got into all the main franchises. I've watched all of Friday the 13th, I've watched all of Elm Street, I've watched all of Saw, I've seen all the Child's Play movies. Those are like the main four I've seen. And we have the Texas Chainsaw movies. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, Leatherface. No, but not the 2017 Leatherface. The Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. Fuck these titles. I hate these titles. Then there's The Return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Then there's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Not to be confused with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1974. I'm talking about the 2003 remake produced by Michael Bay. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You know, that one, I had to specify which Texas Chainsaw Massacre. No, specifically, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because we have the 2022 movie, which is just called Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Oh my god. But anyway, there's also the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning. Why do you have two does there? It doesn't add anything. And then you have the Texas Chainsaw 3D, which is just 3D. Then there's Leatherface, not the Leatherface from 1990, the Leatherface from 2017, that was like straight to VOD or whatever it was. And then you have the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 2022. Do you know how hard it was just to say the fucking titles of the movie? That's crazy. You think you could figure out the fucking titles of your franchise, but no, they've been so fucking inconsistent. This is a mess. Just a mess. Oh my god. I'm only 7 days into October, and it feels like it's been years. I feel like years, decades have been taken off my life. These movies are so boring, so derivative, so stupid, that I don't see any fun in it. Elm Street, even though they get worse and some get better, and it's like an up and down for it, it's fun all the way through. Those are fun fucking movies. Friday the 13th, it practically uses the same fucking formula for each movie. But you know what? The directors tried. They tried something. They don't always succeed at it, but it's interesting. You think Jason X would apply to Texas Chainsaw Massacre? No, this is just a boring franchise. They would never have the guts to do something like Jason X in this franchise. They can't accept the fact that Leatherface is a joke now. It's a joke of a franchise. And it all started with the first movie. I'm gonna calm down a bit, because I actually really like this movie. Believe it or not, I actually kind of like one of these movies. Surprising, I know, by the tone of my voice right now. But I genuinely love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But the space between Chain and Saw, and also made in 1974, not the 2003 remake. Fuck, I have to specify that every single goddamn time, aren't I? But yeah, I'm talking about the 1974 one, and I couldn't even hold back on reviewing it because I'm obligated to review most of the movies I watch this month. That's what I did last year, so I'll do it this year. But in this case, I had podcast demands, so I felt like I needed to save it for the podcast. But I couldn't even do that because I love this movie. It's not a complicated movie. It's a one-done deal. It's a one-done thing where I feel like if you add a sequel to it, it ruins the point of it in the first place. Because you have Leatherface and the Sawyer family overall. They are a bunch of fucking maniacs in this movie. They force their nearly dead grandfather to bang the hammer and try to kill this victim, the only victim left, the woman, and nothing really happens to her. She somehow escapes, but there's just something so actually dangerous about this. Sally Hardesty feels like she's actually in danger in this movie because it's shot in such a specific way, and the surroundings are in such a specific time. Because at first you're just going down a road trip, and it feels very standard, and the way it's shot is very documentarian. It's very authoritative. It's very objective, and they're going here. They see this, they see that. We do not have to learn about these characters on a more depthful level, I guess. But that doesn't mean it's substanceless with these characters. They set up all their actions and what they are, and they feel human. They don't necessarily have to be like the most distinct characters of all time. Really, the main subjects of this movie, the main killers, the Sawyer family, have way more personality than them. Not by stupidity, but by intention. There is obviously a very clear metaphor about, capitalism and the way that operates in what at the time what America was like in the 70s. And there's also a very clear metaphor for animal farms and what the systematic usage of the slaughterhouse is. But instead, they put it through a human lens, which is what is so brilliant about this movie. It leaves you with an actual sense of fear and a real sense of what is going on, that there is no escaping this fate. It's not one of those cheapo 50s horror movies. It's gritty, it's almost unpredictable. It's an unstoppable force that actually reflects our reality. Because horror used to be out-of-this-world sci-fi creatures or monsters from, the Universal classic monster movies, or most of, those 50s B-movies, which were made with poster first, then the movie would actually be made. That type of shit. William Castle or some shit. This is on a whole another level. It changed the genre forever. It defined the slasher genre in its entirety. It was not the first slasher movie, but it was one of the few that defined it, along with, Halloween, Friday the 13th, those type of things. And I think for as simple as the movie is, it is so effective at doing this simple thing, and so well crafted, that I could honestly revisit it. It's so simple, but it's so terrifying because you have these unlike previous horror classics where you're either in one building and reverse shot of people talking. You have this constant sense of movement. You're going around doing something, going from here to here, and with the short runtime, it does so much more with such less, right? And man, it's so well at crafting this atmosphere because you're left open, as if you're on this open playing field where you don't know what's gonna strike, and when it does, you don't really know because it's just such a barren town that, yeah, the Sawyer family, they don't look like they've committed murders that much. Well, actually, they have, but they're so secluded, and the police, they wouldn't be able to catch them because they're in the middle of a forest, nowhere near the roads, but yeah, near fields. And they can just live like that. Because, no one visits this town except for them on this fateful day. And things go wrong, and I like the way it builds that atmosphere. Because while yes, it has like the small contained spaces, there's places to move, and there's terrifying spots, and there's the open forest outside the house, and that's still terrifying because everyone can hear you scream, but no one knows where you are, and no one's there. The fact that there is such an open space is what makes it terrifying, that all you're left with is that killer, just the same as being in a closed space with the killer. You are a target. You're in the literal perspective of an animal, which is told through these humans, and they have to experience that kind of torture through the human psyche. And that's what makes the Sawyer family built upon. They're built upon the vivid idea of what they are. You don't have to know much about them to understand that they are psychopaths and that you need to be afraid of them. They are meant to represent an America that's a disillusion, that is completely, under this under the fucking, how do I describe this? I don't know what it's called. Hillbilly culture, that's what it was. Hillbilly culture, and it's like insane, and they don't think things out, and in itself is a commentary, but also they're such an unstoppable force. They're a human force. They mess up, they swing around, they're completely insane, and they're not, smart. They don't think things through, because they're not calculated like someone like Michael Myers or some other killer, like a real life killer, like, the Zodiac killer. They don't plan these things out. They are insane, and they will do anything just to get their food, their prey, and it doesn't matter what the methods are, because it's meant to be, I guess, it's, okay, let me rewind back, but like, while it's a cinematic force, they are very extremely human, but they're just unlike anything else you've seen. They have personalities, but they're just off. You don't really relate to them. They're alien, they're psychopaths, so why would you relate to them? And there's this disconnection because you're in the perspective of the humans, and you don't understand what they're talking about because you don't know the history about them. You can have implied stuff because when they visit around the house, there's the bone couch and the other ridiculous sets, and it's like, I mean, yeah, you can paint a vivid picture, but you don't know anything truly about what they are capable of. And then right when Leatherface opens that door with the red room and chases after that one dude, that's when just shit goes to hell, going back and forth. And then when Sally searches, all that's left is him. The disabled kid, dead. Their other friends, the boy, the girl, it doesn't matter who their names are. They're dead. Jerry, Franklin, Kirk, Pam. No one knows who they are. And now they have to face, the ultimate dinner. But it's so short and conveys all these things so well that once you get to the dinner scene, you're like, oh yeah, we have 20 minutes left. But each second feels longer than the last. You're sitting there, and there's this insane family talking about killing you, and they're just like sitting there. And the person that you met at the gas station, he's a part of this family too. And this is all just a giant trap to lure people in, and you're finally realizing all this, and now you have to pay the ultimate price, and all you could do is run, and that's what makes the ending so brilliant. They're just running constantly, and in this just perfect display of conveniences and contraptioncy, they're like, oh, hey, there's this truck driver. As she's running away, getting away from this, and it's so terrifying because it's just last second, and you're just in that blood rush. You keep feeling that sort of fear, and it's so effective that you forget. Oh, yeah, it's over. She runs away. She hides. She's forever traumatized. Sally's forever traumatized by all of this, while Leatherface dances in the sunrise, or sunset, as he just swings around the chainsaw. No one has learned anything, and they barely escaped. This is not really a happy conclusion. This is just it. And that's what makes it so iconic. The fact that we've been building up to this moment forever and ever and ever, and ultimately, the villains kind of win, and ultimately, we're left with this image of just pure insanity. It's such a good final shot. And it's so pure. I love it to death. It's so good. They've such a good movie. And I don't know. I don't. If you don't really like this movie that much, I'd say that's fair. That's fair enough to say because like it's such an intrinsically simple movie that if you don't really like the messages coming across, you're not really going to get much out of it because it's such a simple movie with such simple ideals. And yeah, I love it. It's not perfect. You know, it served many of the genre's tropes, which therefore caused shit like Sally being stupid and all, and she's like going around, she's screaming her head off when she could just be quiet. But I could also understand it's like, oh yeah, she's being chased by a chainsaw wielding maniac. Of course she's not gonna be quiet. But after a while you're thinking, just shut up. You know what situation you're in, and you're just like helpless. But I don't know. Even when stupid stuff like that's happening, it's kind of serving either the narrative purpose or the thematic purpose. So I wouldn't really care that much. It's just not like the best thing ever. I think it really works for what it is, but I wouldn't say it's like the most ambitious thing ever. I wouldn't say it's the most well-crafted simple movie ever. It's just a really good movie. I'd like to revisit this again, but it's not one I revisit the most often, but still it's the best in the franchise by default. And now I can talk about my hot take. So I actually kind of like the surprise to popular belief by my opening rant. I do like one of the sequels, one of them, and it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, not to be confused with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, the beginning, which is also a prequel. And God damn it, I hate these goddamn titles. But yeah, I really like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Its poster is literally a parody of the Breakfast Club poster. Now, surprisingly enough, this came out nearly just 7 or so years later after the original, and was made purely as a monetary investment by Tobe Hooper, who returned at the director helm. And for what the goals of the film were originally, he made the most out of it. Because you're thinking, oh, is he going to make another cheapo horror flick? But unlike the rest of these goddamn boring gray blobs of horror, this is a colorful comedic nightmare. It's a feverish nightmare. I don't think you'd expect this to be a Texas Chainsaw sequel, but it is. Oh my god, it just is. And you think, oh, they're doing a meta comedy, for a sequel. That sounds really bad. But no, it surprisingly works, because I'm thinking, oh, this could be lame as fuck. But this is a kind of funny movie, because it's just insane. It's insane, and it works that way. The opening kill is, okay, you have this radio station, right? And they're excessively playing this specific track, and it's cool. It's cool. It's a fun opening. And then you're like, oh, hey, where could Leatherface be? Where's Leatherface? And these two guys are driving their car, and they're making a call to the station asking for specific music. And then fucking Leatherface and his little buddy with the steel metal skeleton head, we'll get to that later. They just show up. They're in a car on a highway street in a busy street, and they just kill them that easily. They chop their head through the window roof, and there's just a fun goriness to it. And then also there's a lot more sparks to it. It's a lot less realistic. There's just sparks coming out of the chainsaw whenever it touches literally anything. It's such a fun opening, and it kind of sets the tone where you're thinking, oh yeah, this is gonna be a fun as hell movie. It's gonna be a fun movie, because ultimately it is meant to just be so stupid. And then for some reason, the radio station, they're like, I'm gonna play their death tomorrow because someone asked for it. Like, why would you do that? And this sets in motion for the rest of the events of the film. Because, Leatherface, the Sawyer family, they're realizing, oh, hey, these dudes, they could frame us for murder. And, the cook, aka the original father from the first movie, he returns, but now he's just called the cook, and he wins, like, chili. He wins, like, chili competitions, and he's like yelling at the boys, oh, darn you guys, you've done it again, you've killed a bunch of people, and it's taken so lightly. And that in itself is brilliant, because it recontextualizes these maniacs as you can feel their humanity in the weird way where they're so disconnected from reality. That's the humanity in them, that they're insane. Now you think, oh no, you gotta keep Leatherface this mysterious figure. Yeah, but also you can have some fun with it. Like, while yes, he can be this mysterious figure, he can have humanity. As long as you don't give him an origin, and you can see, like, the humanity in him, there's a greatness to it. As long as they still make him a villain, as long as they still make him feel vague, and as long as they could still commentate on something greater. And this film recontextualizes it as they don't care who they're killing. They're just pissed that they might get caught for it. And that is brilliant, as, 80s was such an excessive time for cinema and for, like, the economy, where they're just allowed to do anything. So therefore, this film allows itself to do anything. And so therefore, commentates that on in itself, where it's like, oh, yeah, these guys don't actually care, and they're complete maniacs, and it's less about an America that's, like, farming people and making the most out of, the slaughter, where instead it's about people it's less about the people who make those things, a lot more people who use it, people who use the products instead of creating the products themselves, which is weird in itself, but I think it's a nice way of mirroring the original, which you don't expect, and you might be thinking I sound insane, but I legitimately think there's something there, because there's no way Tobe Hooper, the original director for the first movie, was thinking, I'm gonna make a comedy, because why not? Because I know it was originally made for money, and it might just be him fucking around. It might just be that. But there's some intentional things. Why would they give Leatherface... Why would they make him horny in this movie? So Leatherface, right? He's horny for Vanita, the main girl, she works at the DJ. And there's this weird scene where after he bursts through a wall and he somehow enters, the DJ station and no one hears this outside of, people in the studio. He corners her and then starts to get a boner through, like, his chainsaw. He's getting aroused by her because, she's a wet shirt, and he's, like, swinging, because at first he's, like, chainsawing the water, and it's spraying all over, and it's, like, see-through, and it's like, oh my god, there's boobs, there's a vagina, and he's, like, getting real horny about it, and I'm like, what? It's ridiculous. It adds a humanity to him by making him weak. They remove the danger of Leatherface by making him goofy. He's still dangerous, but he has faults, and he doesn't acknowledge that he's just doing this, and he doesn't kill her, even though, his Chop Top commands him to, and he's just like, oh, go kill him, and he just doesn't say that he didn't kill him and leaves him, for later or some shit, as if that he could get together or manage to get together with this girl, because that's all is a delusion in his head, and it's so funny. There's a lot of horror. It's a very good horror comedy. I legitimately think this is a good horror comedy. It's not smart. It's not the most smart thing ever, as much as I'm making it seem like that. The movie's just fun in itself if you don't think about it too much, and while yes, it's ridiculous that Leatherface and the family have somehow built a cave, and they weren't caught from the last movie, nor have anyone seen the literal holes that lead to this place. And I'm just wondering, like, how no one saw them on the streets, how no one caught them, and also why this Texan guy actively wants them. Like, Dennis Hopper's character, I legitimately don't know why he's there. At first, I thought he was like the brother or some shit, because he's like, oh, I know that family, as if he was like the brother or something. But no, he's just a really, really weird Texan guy, and he's like, hey, why don't we do that? He just wants to do this, and he wants to, as if there's like a bounty on them. I guess it's like a weird thing. I don't get why he's there, but I think he makes the movie. And he understands, like, where this movie is going. And, you know, I don't blame him. He does the best with what he's doing. And he's probably one of the biggest highlights of the movie. Because at the end, he's just like, oh, hey, I'm just going to destroy your entire base. He's, like, chainsawing every single place. And he tries out these, like, chainsaws at this chainsaw place. And this dude who owns the shop doesn't give a shit. He doesn't ask for a license or anything. He's just like, yeah, here's this chainsaw. Here's this chainsaw. And he's, like, trying them on as if they're, like, fucking guns. It's weird. The first movie, they treat chainsaw as a chainsaw. The swinging thing. But this, they treat chainsaws as if they're fucking guns. Because, you know, they're using them in cars, which traditionally you think would be much easier to use guns shooting at another car rather than lunging a chainsaw into someone's car window. And it's weird. I don't get why it's that, but it adds to the stupidity. It's like cartoonish in a way. There's a lot of clarity to the images, and there's just like a lot of swift pans and just a lighter color palette overall. Everything is just treated more lightly, because, you know, unlike the quick cutting of like the last movie, this one's a lot more standard at editing, and everything has a lot more of a stronger color palette, where unlike the just disgusting, like, barren necessities of Texas, we're in this like colorful land where, you know, the DJ set, this DJ studio in itself is a very detailed set, and it looks cool. And there's you know, obviously the man cave that the Sawyer family live in. That's cool. That's a cool design. And there's just a lot of practicality to it. Like, they take advantage of this being way more higher budget than the original film, which is like costed like thousands, like only like a couple $1,000s or a couple $100,000. It costed not very much. Unlike this, which is just excessive to almost a comedic degree. It's a lot more isolated. It's just it's weird because there's such elaborate sets and it's so contained that it almost makes it feel, you know, within the space of a different reality where it's like, hey, it's less barren and more just cartoonish. And you think, yeah, that's such a contrast to the original, but I think that's why it works, and that's why, you know, I care. That's why it makes sense. It tries something new. It does build upon the thematic implications of the last movie, while also doing its own thing and trying a way more different style. And I know I'm using style arguments, but it's just, I don't see why you could hate this movie. Like, yeah, it's stupid, but compared to the rest of these movies, this has way more of a personality. It tries something. There's an actual story to it. Very loose story. It's very standard slasher. And it's a lot less innovative than the first, which was, you know, obviously like one of the best and one of the first, you know, slasher films. This is just trying to do something else. I wouldn't know why else to be like mad at it, because for as much as a mixed reception it initially got, it was very clearly just meant to do something new, and it does. You think it would like disrespect the original? No, it doesn't. I mean, it has the original director, for Christ's sake. Of course it wouldn't like disrespect the original. It's building upon it by expanding, you know, from the people who commit stuff in the slaughterhouse to the people who consume the slaughterhouse, because, you know, these two are such from a specific different era. because you have the mid-70s, which is around the time where recession was happening. It was a lot more skeptical of the government. While the 80s, while, you know, it had the Cold War, for the rest of the, like, general public, no one really gave a shit. And, you know, they were just trying to enjoy their lives as much as possible. This is when prosperity happened so much in the economy. And when you got that defined 80s film look. And this is a very, very 80s film. It's almost ridiculous how it is. But yeah. Fucking one of the cast members, Crop Top. No, what's his name? Chop Top. That ridiculous dude who wasn't even in the first movie. And so it doesn't make any sense why now he's a part of this family and wasn't in the last one. But who cares? He's a fun character. And the only reason that he was here is because the actor, Bill Moseley, created this like short film parody of the Texas Chainsaw called The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where he played a small role as a hitchhiker and showed it to a screenwriter who showed it to Tobe Hooper. And he loved it so much that he casted him into Chainsaw 2. Because, you know, the intention, even before the film was, you know, starting production, was always that it was going to be a black comedy. And I think it works where it's funny, but it's not too silly, where it's like too disassociated with reality. Where you think, I think the general way people view this one is as if it's like the goofiest thing ever, when really, it's not. Like, fucking Friday the 13th is more goofy than this. The later, you know, no, Texas Chainsaw 2022 is more goofy than this fucking movie. And not in the fun way. It's boring. It's boring as shit. But yeah, I don't know. I keep on rambling about this, but 2 is a genuinely good movie. And I'm just trying to spare any amount of goodness out of this sequel before we get to the next 2. What are they called again? Fucking, there's so many stupid titles. Oh, I need to catch my breath. We have Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 from 1990, not the Leatherface from 2017, and we have The Return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And you want to know what I think about them? I think moving forward, what that silence was meant to indicate was that these movies are fucking boring. They are fucking boring. I don't remember much about them, and they are really tiresome. And I'm gonna be honest, the 2 notes I have for both of these in total, I have only 2 notes for both of these. For 3, I just said it's the most nothing horror movie ever made. For 4, I just wrote down Matthew McConaughey, because, you know, Matthew McConaughey is in The Return of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Oh yeah, you didn't know that? Yeah, Matthew McConaughey is like one of the main Sawyer family members in this. And as for a notable actor in 3, there's Viggo Mortensen. Now, both of these movies are basically the same. Like, if you mirror them next to each other, they are literally the same movie. You know, well, 4 is more about, like, for some reason, you know, Renee Zellweger is in this. Renee Zellweger is in this. I'm running it. My mouth is starting to hurt. But yeah, no, Renee Zellweger, and there's like group of teens. There's a difference that it's focused on teens. Like 3, just some random girl. They're driving to some place, then they get caught, and then the rest of the movie, for both of them, takes place in a house, and they talk, and it's boring. It's boring as shit. Viggo Mortensen tries his best, and he's like fine in it, while Matthew McConaughey is completely fucking insane. And not in the entertaining way, he's just weird. I wouldn't say that, like, he entertained me, but he was the only thing interesting about the movie. The fact that he was there was interesting in itself. I don't know how he got casted, and I'm gonna be frank, I didn't do much research on these sequels, because I don't care. I don't care about it. I don't care about anything about these movies. I don't care about fucking anything. All I care about is that Matthew McConaughey is somehow in 4, and also Viggo Mortensen is somehow in 3. I couldn't tell you a single thing about these movies, and I saw them like 4 days ago. You know how weird that is when you forget a movie that you watched like only a couple days ago? I can remember some movies I watched months ago that legit no one remembers the logs for. You know that random South Park documentary I watched, that mockumentary? I forgot its title, but I remember it. I remember the segment where this dude was like against gay sex or some shit. I forget, but it was like the censor board and he was like saying weird shit. Then there was like when Trey Parker and Matt Stone are sitting in the bathtub and you know they're clearly mocking the talking head stuff of interviews, and it's, you know, there's something there, and that's not even a great documentary. I don't know why I'm getting into this tangent, but it's true. Okay. Leatherface, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, and The Return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I hate these titles so goddamn much. I don't remember a single thing about these movies. I could sit here and just say nothing, and it'd be more substantive than me just trying to figure out what the fuck happened in these movies. Because I genuinely do not remember what the fuck happened in these movies. I'm so sorry for the strong language, but I don't remember a single thing about these movies. Do you? I'm not sure if you do. If you've watched the sequels, tell me, what the fuck happens in 3 or 4? Without looking at a Wikipedia page, without rewatching any bits of the movie, tell me what happened in them. Because I don't know. I don't know. Watch the movie, wait a day, then think about it. What do you remember about the movie? I don't know. Most likely chance you remember, oh, these notable actors were in this for some reason. What else am I supposed to say about it? Nothing. I'm going to leave you in silence right now. I want you to sit down and think about it. See? That's awkward. That's why this is when I knew. I knew this was the sign that, like, things were going to get really fucking bad. And then we have the 2003 remake. Now, these two, the Bay films, I call them, the Texas Chainsaw Bay films, because they're both produced by Michael Bay. These were basically the what revived Texas Chainsaw, because 4 came out in like 1995, and we were starved. Oh, we were so starved with Leatherface content. Oh, we so needed more Leatherface. We definitely needed more, and so we got, you know, the 2003 remake. And the 2003 remake is boring as well. But I remember some things. I can retain memory. What a fucking miracle. What a fucking miracle. So yeah, you have these boring ass teens. Everything's gray as fuck. There's way less color than 2. And it's not even the good kind of like nauseating color palette like the original. It's just gray and boring. It doesn't even have the Michael Bay exposure type of like color grading. It's just boring as fuck. It looks like a Marvel movie. It looks gray. It looks like everything's just gray. Now, as for the teens, I cannot tell you a single thing about their personalities, which I will say from here on out. Every single one of these teens from here on out have no personality. You know, I was talking about 2, and how even, like, you know, the lady in that movie, I don't remember her name, but I remember she was doing stuff. She was horny. She was the target for Leatherface's attraction. She tried her best. She has a brother. Her brother is Dennis Hopper, and Dennis Hopper's character is pretty fun, so it makes up for the sort of just generic main character. Even the side characters, you know, like LG. Remember LG in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2? His tragic death is actually very brutal death, and his, like, really horrific injuries. Like, that's memorable. I remember him. He was horny after that girl as well. Now, as for the characters in 3, 4, I don't remember them. Well, besides, you know, the actors who played them. 2003 remake? I know jack shit. I don't know any one of these people. Who are they? I wouldn't know. You think I give a shit? No, I don't. I don't. And then this woman randomly shows up. They allow her into her car for some reason. She pulls a gun out of her vagina. And they do like... And she shoots herself. And I'm supposed to give a shit? I mean, yeah, it's sudden and it's very wacky. But I'm not, I can't take it seriously because the shot that they use is she shoots herself, but then we have a back shot of her, back head, and we see the bullet go through her head, make this giant ass hole larger than the fucking bullet itself, go through the window in this like tracking shot as we follow this bullet. It feels like goofy, like Matrix, like X-Men shit. What are you doing? Why would you just stylize it like that? There's no reason to do that, yet they do it anyway, and it doesn't add to the film itself. See, at least there's more to this than 3 and 4. There's just a lot of more sex, like even in the opening before the girl, goes through the shot and does the wacky little fucking spectacle shot. They just have sex in the car, and it's like, oh my god, this is just meant to be a more crasser original. And it just screams trying to be edgy as fuck. And it's so bad at it. It's so bad at doing anything that it makes it more inherently goofy. I talked about that shot where, they go through the head of the woman and does the bullet hole through, and there's a tracking shot of the bullet. But yeah, there's nothing as goofy as that in the rest of the movie, because it's just boring, shaky, poorly edited, and weirdly enough, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre probably originated this documentarian, like, shaky cam style. But it's so good at it! This is so bad at it! It doesn't know how to properly use it, and so everything feels so... I wouldn't know. And, for the rest of the notes, there's the police officer who was later to revealed to be part of the Sawyer family, which gets more stupid in the later version, but for now, I'm just thinking, there's only one police officer in this entire town, and also, like, no one has killed that gas station lady. Like, if you want people to get trapped in this secluded area, why must the gas station lady be oblivious to all of this? Wouldn't that screw up their entire plans in general? And, I can accept minor flaws like that, but it just gets more stupid. Every one of the kills. Actually, I don't remember much of the kills. And I wouldn't know anything. Because, they're going through the house, and, each person dies. And for some reason, these really old-ass people still somehow beat up these young kids up. I don't know how that happened. But, everyone slowly dies, and it's the same exact formula for all these movies. You have a group of teens, or adults, or whatever which, and they're just going to place. They get stopped at place. Then Texas Chainsaw family lures them in. Then they slowly get killed. That is it. That is fucking it with all these movies. And the 2003 remake is that when they started to realize, oh yeah, they're doing this. They keep doing the same thing. It's the 2003 remake, even for it trying to be more gritty, it just... nothing? And then the only other thing that I can actually recall about this, which is a miracle compared to 3 and 4, is the girl, the final girl, she's like going through this like underground lair of like pigs, and they're all just like out in the open. Like, I don't get what's happening there, but then she hides in a locker, right? Leatherface follows. He doesn't know where he is, but then for some reason, this bitch, without knowing anything, is like, because, she just entered this place. She doesn't know anything. He's like, hey, I'm over here. It's like, why would you do that? How else are you supposed to escape? Just let him search around until, he leaves. But no, she calls him out. And then somehow she knew that there's like a pig in one of the fucking lockers, even though she didn't hear anything. And the audience wasn't told anything about this, and it's meant to be a surprise. But there's nothing that shows. It's not like they cut away this Leatherface Ash, and then suddenly we see her hiding in a locker. We see the steps she does to take to get to that locker and hide in there. And there's no indication that she was thinking of this plan before, which she would need to understand that, oh yeah, there's a pig in the locker. There's a fucking pig in the locker. There's rats in the vents. Fucking anything. I don't care. It's just so stupid the way that entire thing is set up. And that's one example of many stupid kills that I'm probably forgetting in my mind. My mind is mush over these movies, because I don't remember a single thing about them. I don't remember anything. It's boring. And then the beginning. Let's just get to the beginning, because they're both kind of the same thing. Yeah, the police officer in the first movie, he wasn't really discreet anyway. He just brutally killed these people. and somehow none of the other victims heard this and were alerted by this. They just kind of let it happen. They all get killed one by one, to move the plot along. And it's the same thing in the beginning. And what's even more stupid is that there's a Vietnam theme to it, and it's not even consistent throughout. It's this brief section because we set up this teens, and they're like either they're going to the Vietnam War or they already went, and he's like, and this dude is like a Sigma male, is like insecure that, hey, no, I fought in the war, I'm a man, and he's like arguing, and that's what leads them into car crashing into another dude who, while for some reason the person behind them, this guy in the bike, is like swinging his knife around, and he's like shooting a gun or some shit, and it's like, if they're part of the Sawyer family, why did they, even though they're mentally insane in the first movie, they plan this out. Like, even as much as they are mentally insane, they plan out these murders very, to the point. And the beginning proves this, because, for as stupid as it is, the father gets his position as the officer, from the last movie. It's revealed the origins come from he just kills an officer and takes his place. And I'm thinking, is there no other officers in this area? Like I said before. But another thing to account for is I don't think you could just take someone's job, someone be left dead and missing, replace the sheriff, and no one notice. Like, even outside this small town, I think there's, an overall police system that allows you to understand, oh, hey, yeah, this officer is, missing. But no government officials take a look to visit. No one questions this at all. And this just happens? It's weird. Why would you do that? Why? And then they try. This is the first time they try this, but they add meaning to the chainsaw for some reason. They reveal it like it's a fucking Chekhov's gun, where it's oh my god, it's the device, it's the chainsaw, but it just looks like a fucking chainsaw. What the fuck am I supposed to be clapping at? Am I supposed to be clapping and cooming at a fucking chainsaw? Are you serious? Is this how low the fucking franchise is going? God damn it. Oh my god. And then, as usual with these structures, they go to place, they see place, but instead they insert some origins in there. It barely feels like the beginning. It feels like another Texas Chainsaw movie, where we don't get the true origins of Leatherface. We don't see him as a child or anything, which in itself is a stupid concept, but if you're gonna do it, at least fucking do it, which, I mean, the later films do. But this one just doesn't. For as much as it's called The Beginning, where's the beginning? It just kind of starts, there's some brief origins, and then the rest of it is a pretty standard affair in the Texas Chainsaw franchise. It's the same exact structure as the rest of these sequels are. Gang goes to place, they slowly get killed one by one. One of them gets either chased around, or they go into a dinner, or they're in a hospital, and then they get eventually either killed or they escape. That's it! That's fucking it! I don't care! This isn't the beginning. It doesn't subvert anything. It doesn't add to these characters, because fundamentally, you're just adding shit to explain shit we didn't really need to talk about. This prequel, did not need to exist, because you get the gist in the remake. As much as I don't really like the 2002 remake, it communicates that. On a basic professional level, in terms of filmmaking, it communicates basic things. This is over-explaining things and making it more stupid. So why should I bother? Oh my god. And there's still more of these damn movies. There's still more. And as brief as I'm going through, as much as it seems like I'm rushing through them, they really are that substanceless. They don't have much to them. This is a marathon that is pointless. A waste of your time. And Texas Chainsaw 3D and Leatherface are the only two films that are sort of interesting. Because Texas Chainsaw 3D doesn't even bother with, title cards. Because 2003 remake, it had, these cool, fucking file, these, police file, credits. They had some eerie music, and they had voiceover, and there's, actually additions to it. There's, fun, occasional, hints of creativity within the fucking opening credits. In this, they just play the original movie in like brief snippets. Cause this is meant to be if we're gonna be talking about the timelines, we have the original 4, and then you have the Bay film timeline. Then this is just a direct sequel to the first one, and so you're given a recap of it for some reason, and it's lazy. It's very clearly just a budget cut. They couldn't do an opening, so they just threw together, took footage from the original movie, and then played it over. And this is the first of many problems. Okay. So, the police, we have this opening where they're like going, and you're meant to hate the police in this movie? And it kind of ruins the original, because the fact that there was a lack of police in the original was something. But it's confirmed there were fucking tons of officers. Where were they? Where were they in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 1974? Where were they? I don't fucking know. But they shoot up the house, and then and for some reason they're like in a gun standoff. For some reason, I guess the Texas Chainsaw crew, they're insane enough to have guns and fucking why don't you use those in the 1974 film? Even though 2 is weird that they are capable of someone making a manhole, at least they're still fundamentally the same in terms of actions. Besides that, the rest of these movies, they give the Sawyers way too much smarts. They have way too much bronze. They have way too many brains to them. There's less of the bronze, there's just more brains, which I think sort of could work in the beginning. It sort of does work, but in this it's just completely bothersome, because even if they are mentally handicapped, they should be able to use guns, even if they're mentally just unstable. It's not hard. It's not mentally challenging. So why didn't they use it before? I don't know. I really don't know. And then they burn the house to the ground, and they just go and just die. They all die, and then that's the end of the fucking Texas Chainsaw House. That's it? And it's just gone? And then for the rest of the movie, Leatherface somehow escapes that fire, and there's also a fucking baby, and this dude walks up to the baby. He's somehow at this crime scene, takes the baby, kicks the woman in the face, and then just raises this bitch. He just raises the baby, and it turns out, it's the main character. And from here on out, standard thing, same structure, but instead it's interwoven with a lot of police commentary where they're like, oh, the police are bad. They manipulated the Sawyer family into being this way. And they're acting as if the Sawyer family, the Texas Chainsaw family, known for wanting to kill people by using hammers and hitting them on the head. They do that, but you're meant to sympathize with them. Now, I know I said you could see the humanity with these characters in 2, but that's different, where they're still villains. They are still weak. They are still pathetic. They're just less dangerous now in 2. They have more of a humanity, so therefore they have more of a weakness to them. In this, they are meant to be victims of police, fucking police, identity police, fucking police profiling? Are you kidding? Is this actual commentary in this movie? Yeah, they actually do this shit. It's almost impossible to believe this. But yes, they're thinking, hey, why don't we make the fucking Sawyer family a sympathetic family? Now, first of all, why? Second of all, why? Third of all, why? Fifth of all, why? Why would you do that? It's blurry memory, but still, I remember that. But at that point, I wasn't even paying attention anymore. I was playing fucking Uno. I was playing fucking Discord Uno. Recommend it. Very good game. I love Uno and IRL too. But yeah, I do not care. Why should I fucking sympathize with a family that are very clearly mentally unstable? And then at the end, this girl who's, part of the Sawyer family, but, got fucking taken and her mother got kicked in the face, like I said before. And it was like, I'm gonna sympathize with you. Like, what? What are you doing? Stop it. Why would you do that? And honestly, it's so frustrating. I don't understand what this movie is coming from. Thinking that this would work and that this is moral, that this is right, that this should work. When no, this is not right. This is not how you're supposed to do this. This is bad. This is bad. This teaches bad things. It's really bad. And there's nothing, and worst of all, it's fucking ugly visually. See, I would make this like a 3 or 2 based on just the immoral stuff and this bad story. But the fact that it looks so ugly, and the fact that the acting is not even that good either. Like, 3 and 4, fine acting. The remakes, fine acting. This has terrible acting. The main actress, I forget her name, but she's been in other movies, and she's pretty good in those movies. So, what's her name? Alexandra Daddario. Oh, okay. She's in Percy Jackson and The Lightning Thief, which, is the worst movie ever made. But, I think she does passable in those. She has, oh my gosh, never mind. She has a terrible career. Jesus Christ. But yeah, no, she sucks in this. She's terrible in this. She's so bad at acting. She's so motionless. She doesn't feel anything when she figures out, like, oh yeah, fucking Leatherface is like my fucking brother. Like, what the fuck is going on? And then the film has this, like, either really dark filter or really bright filter. Because, like, when they're going to, like, the grocery store, the lights are, like, fucking brimming. They're, like, so bright. I don't understand. Why is it so bright in here? Why is the color grading like this? And when you have a higher, fucking saturation, it looks worse, it looks cheap, and it looks just terrible in general. It's like they didn't know how to fucking color their own film. And in terms of, like, general filmmaking wise and, like, photography, it looks bad too. Like, even if we remove these, like, bad, like, color grading, it still looked like shit because it's mostly static shots, shaky shots, psycho, repeat. I don't care. I know I haven't mentioned the filmmaking of the other movies, but it's because they're not notable enough to give a shit about. They're just bland, gray blobs. Well, this is just notably bad. Gray blobs. God damn. And then we have Leatherface. I just think at this point I was just done. I was done. Cause I'm so tired about talking about these. But yeah, I'm sitting here, I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna play more Uno as this plays in the background. So yeah, Jeb, we have this opening where they're like, oh, Jeb, we have to kill. And it's like the chainsaw is like a symbol of a family, and all of the images of the original are taken through this, like, family frame where it's like, oh, you have to service your family, which you think would work. Do you think you would put that in, the movie where it's revealed that the main victim is also the fucking brother or sister, whatever, of Leatherface? Well, no, they apply it here because it's weird, and yet after this opening where, Leatherface is, sacrificed, he's, like, meant to, like, by becoming a man, he has to kill someone, but he refuses to, and is forced to. It's like, you're not ready yet. And then we jump ahead, and he's sent to, like, a fucking facility, and then he escapes the facility, and he has this ragtag group of friends, and it's like Stand By Me, but for fucking Leatherface. But then it's revealed that guy is not Leatherface, but some other random dude is Leatherface, and he becomes Leatherface, and then this girl's like, Michael, don't do it, or whatever his fucking name is, and he's like, no, Michael, don't do it, and then he went, and then, in the only subversive thing in this movie is the fact that, you know, that twist is there, and it's stupid, but also the fact that, you know, it's like, oh, there's no final girl, she's just dead, and this is like the origins of Leatherface, and it's like meant to be some sort of Greek tragedy, when it's not. Even like looking this as schlock, it's just fine. And honestly, if I were to disconnect this from Leatherface, this is just a very bland. This applies to all of them, where if I disconnect them, they're just bland, generic horror films about creepy families. But this one specifically tried to add a Stand By Me type of quality to it, where it's like, oh, this ragtag group, they're trying to escape the police, and, you know, there's more police commentary. They call cops pigs, like, twice or thrice in the film, and it's just weird, because, you know, we're meant to sympathize with them, and then the next minute, you have this diner scene, right, and then they get just slightly pissed about something, and then they start just stabbing people, and everyone else just stands around, they don't leave, and then they start shooting up the place, and they're all dead. It makes no sense, and somehow they get away with this, and now they're on the run, of course, but like they still escape. And also they let one guy live for some reason. I mean, they do shoot at him, but they don't succeed, and then it allows one of their other people to get victimized. And I don't know, when you have like the same police are bad stuff, because you have the cops are pig shit, which is from the remakes, and also in this, where it's like commentating on military stuff, where it's like, oh, you need to be a real man, which is what they did in the fucking Texas Chainsaw 2003 stuff, where they're like, oh, I worked in Vietnam, I'm a real man. And actually, let me go back to the 2003 remake, because this dude, he's like praising this officer because he also was in Vietnam, and he like calls him sir, and he obediates to him even though he's like killing his friend and like torturing him. That's interesting somewhat. But I don't know, whenever they do it, it just feels very incohesive, just as incohesive as this episode. Because I swear to God, they're trying to do similar things. And this is when all these things start to blend together. But they try their hand at it, and like, oh, police are bad, police are terrible people, when they're like killing like 10 people in a diner, and we're meant to be like, no, we're supposed to sympathize with them. We're supposed to sympathize with all of them. It's so cartoonishly inept. And I couldn't tell you any other reason why they would do this. Why they would do any of these things. But yeah, everything past like 3 or 4, I'm just kind of baffled by. Because they try at deeper thematic implications. Well, okay. The first of, you know, the first Bay remake, it's just like fine, but the second one's interesting in the fact that it tries to do that cop thing, and the Texas Chainsaw 3D tries to do one thing, and it was so bad that Leatherface tried to recourse, and tried so many different despairing things, like an origin story, found family, heritage, cops are bad, but none of them feel very cohesive. None of them ever feel like they tie together in one plot, because, you know, you have the cops, which you barely see, the family, which you barely see, the found family, which is a boring generic group of convicts, and they just don't mesh together because they don't allow them to combine together. So therefore, what you're trying to do never works, and what you're implying doesn't actually mean anything in the grand scheme of things, because you're not doing anything to motivate that. You're just saying, this is this, that, this, that, and you're meant to say, this is deeper, because we're giving sympathy to Leatherface. And, well, yes, you could give sympathy to Leatherface and where he came from, he's also still a bad person. So when Texas Chainsaw 3D is like humanizing him, and Leatherface is just really boring at doing what he tries to do, and makes Leatherface look worse more than being sympathetic in both of these, you're just kind of left thinking, what's the point? And as much as it sounds I'm repeating things, that really adds to this. The fact that this podcast episode has been me ranting on and on about despairing things has just told you so much about the fact that this entire franchise is so structureless and so unplanned, and it should have been left at one, maybe two of the movies. It would have been over. Nothing would have changed about pop culture. Nothing would have changed about anything. We would live in a better place. It would be a fucking utopia if the Leatherface sequels didn't exist. I'm so done. As much as angry as it sounds, I'm more angry out of boredom. The fact that these movies weren't even that interesting. Like, yeah, they're interestingly bad at points, but most of them follow that same structure, that fundamental structure, because they're literally copying from one single movie that was so good that they couldn't top it, so they just stole from it. And whenever they tried new things, they were just bad ideas, and they didn't fit what image that they were trying to fit for Leatherface. And if you're looking at them as separate movies, they're just bland in general. And filmmaking wise, besides Tobe Hooper, I don't remember any of the directors. I don't remember any of their styles besides it being gray and dirty. I don't care. And the only reason I remember any of the directors' like notable styles besides Tobe Hooper is that, Texas Chainsaw 3D looks fucking ugly as shit. And, the rest of these movies, at least they look professionally made. They're not good movies, but they look professionally made, unlike Texas Chainsaw 3D. And it doesn't matter. Because this entire thing, I was banking on this, and I'm disappointed. Because you could have done so many goofy, wacky things. I would much prefer if you continue to be Texas Chainsaw 3D bad. Because I'd have a lot more to talk about. But I don't. I fucking don't. And even the Texas Chainsaw 3D interesting bad stuff, it's notably in one single core aspect. It's not like there's like fundamental broken structure and fundamental like broken narrative or fundamentally broken production or anything. Even if I were to do research on the productions behind these movies, it'd be boring as shit. Because I bet those like behind the scenes documentaries, they wouldn't help me at all. They wouldn't help me at all. And I bet there's nothing interesting about the directors themselves that would lead me to believe, to understand why these movies are the way that they are. They are very clearly, obviously, have a purpose. They are cheap cash grabs of an original movie that tried so many good things that literally no one could top it, and they didn't know how to top it. Such a simple way. There is the final one, the Texas, no, not even just Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I don't really have much to say. It's standard stupid, it's standard bad, and it just made me realize by the end of this, there's not much worth value. Because, there's a couple notable stuff. The mask looks better. And they tried to Halloween 2018 it up by bringing back the original final girl from the first movie. And I don't even think it's the original actress. So it's just awkward. And they have this final showdown, and it's really pathetic too. You think I want to continue to rant about this? Cuz I don't. I truly don't. There's one kill where for some reason they let this insane dude who's quiet, who's Leatherface, on board, taking care of this dead person. And this officer just doesn't do anything about it. He just lets him play medic with this body. And eventually he just fucking breaks the officer's arm with one hand, with barely any strength used, and then uses that bone to stab him. And then he somehow shoots the other dude, and it causes a car crash, and things happen. And they get into a car crash. She's trying to call for help. Then girl dies by getting handcuffed for some reason, even though that wasn't necessary, and he would have just been able to stab her instantaneously anyway. And yeah, that's fucking it. I'm so done. I'm actually so done with this damn franchise. In this final movie, I realized that there really is no podcast potential with this. This is a meaningless franchise that continues to struggle through and continues to put Leatherface up as this sort of icon and trying to add meaning to him to where it wasn't. And for all their best efforts, they fail hard. And this didn't even try. This is a very brisk movie. It's like an hour and 15 minutes. And it's pretty much a standard horror film. It's bad, obviously, but like, compared to everything else, I'm very just emotionless. I was very emotionless during this entire experience. Because it wasn't that bad, but it wasn't that good either. It was just, I felt empty inside. And then ultimately, what else is there to say about Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise? The entire franchise is a bloated, repetitive, and ultimately very, very unwatchable franchise. I would not wish this entire franchise upon my enemies. This is so boring. I hate it. I honestly, if I were to go back and change my schedule up, I would have done a whole episode on fucking the Friday the 13th movies, the Elm Street movies, the Saw. Well, actually, I do have the Saw movies, but I could have done anything else besides this, and I'd live a much happier life. I live a much, much more happier life. I'd rather do that than ever sit through one of these sequels ever again. And you know what that says? That says a lot. I'm so done. So done. Obviously, I'm not actually that angry, but like, this is a complete waste of my time. I could have gone on my way. I could have canceled this entire episode, but I did it. I did it. I fucking did it. And was it worth it? No. Hell no. If you want to watch these movies, do not. I just don't want you to watch these movies. Do not watch them. They're not fun. Stop it. They're not fun. I don't care. I don't care whether or not you think they're good. I just don't think they're interesting to discuss. And if you want to bring up like something that's interesting about them, go ahead. Because at this point, I just don't think they're worth much value. I don't think they were worth a whole episode. This has been a very straightforward episode. I'm going straight to the point. I hate them. I hate these sequels. I never want to think about them again. I'm just tired. That's it. I never want to think about these again. But yeah, that was The Dumps, and I hope you liked it. Do not watch these movies. I'm gonna throw them out of my mind after this. And thank you for watching, or listening, or whatever you're doing. Fuck Leatherface, and fuck you! I've had enough of Leatherface. Fuck you! God damn it. Fuck this franchise. I'm done. Fucking done. God. Fucking God damn it. God fucking